businesses that want to work with
Hmm.
you. Um, Yesterday, and definitely if you haven't seen it, watch it again. We went over scenarios of how to make $1,000 a month. And we talked about, having, getting business with different businesses or adding in businesses. So,
Hmm.
today is like, okay, well, as Tammie just said, how do we then build that pipeline? So it kind of
Right.
fits on for what we talked about yesterday.
Yep.
So the first thing always comes up, okay, well, where do I start, right? What businesses should I go for? I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, as we talked about before, you want to target businesses that do some sort of logging and tracking, journaling, those type of things that are part of that fit well into the
Hmm.
KDP for B2B model. But we suggest that you start with businesses that you already know and have a relationship with. And that is, that you know them, they know you. It doesn't mean you've done any type of business or, any of that type of, when I say relationships, just that you know that person or the people that are associated
Or
with.
maybe you frequent their business. Maybe you are a patron of their business, or
Yes.
that's a great way to start because obviously you've built that relationship up where you've used their services or their products or whatever.
Yeah. Or just if it makes sense, visiting is to do one thing that we say to keep your KDP for B2B goggles on to start a conversation. And I know Tammie has in when she started working with a lot of businesses, that's she started this conversation. So maybe you can share some of the things you've done in the past of how this all started with you starting that conversation by seeing what they were providing you.
Right. A lot of times, just go into a business and observe what's happening in the business.
Hmm.
And that's when I was getting into nutrition and health and doing some workouts and all the other things. And
Yeah.
and I was helping a friend with a nutrition company, so I was going to a lot of different gyms in our area.
Hmm.
And also, I was had a nutritionist personally. I was going through my whole. And then checking what when you do nutritionists, they make sure to track what you eat, how much are you eating, how many calories, and all the macros and all these different tracking things. And so my suggestion is to go in and observe a business, and maybe it is someone you already see or do. It could be, maybe you go to a chiropractor, or
Hmm.
maybe you go to a gym yourself, or
Hmm.
maybe, but just put your goggles on and look and watch what people are doing. What are they, maybe the managers, the staff doing? Are they checking anything? Are they logging anything? Are they having their clients log anything? And that's when the wheel started spinning for me with KDP for B2B. Was I observed that and I thought booklets would be great for them,
Hmm.
and why not have their own brand on it? That was the gist of it. But yes, go in and look at businesses, and maybe don't even say anything. Just go in and observe if you think they could use a booklet or not.
Yeah.
Or if you have, even ask, do you have a tracker or a booklet, journal, whatever type of business you're in,
Hmm.
and see if they have anything available. We've been doing that with realtors, finding out if they have booklets already. We've been asking that question. So feel free to ask the question.
Right. And also kind of alluding to that, but I don't think you said it specifically, but just if they're just handing their clients, or if you're working with them and they just hand you a piece of paper
Hmm.
or a blank, or just like,
A
a
folder.
folder of papers that they photocopied or printed out
Hmm.
themselves, or a 3-ring binder. I know we talked, I think it was Monday,
Yeah.
just with Tara's group, just a 3-ring blank binder. These are all things that,
Those are good signs to keep your eyes open for, is any folders, 3-ring binders,
Mhm.
pieces of paper, any of that.
Yeah, and then if you have more of a relationship with them, as in you've had conversations with the owner or the manager or anybody that's kind of more in charge, just ask them how things are going, how's their day doing, how's their business going, and
Hmm.
that usually will then potentially lead to opportunities especially when you see these type of things. But just
Sorry.
actually,
I'm just
you
trying to.
know, see what they are actually. Their business, how it's going along, and then how you might be able to potentially help in. And that usually just starts a conversation, because then many cases will ask you, well, how's your business doing? Or possibly,
Hmm.
what do you do? And
Right.
so
That
that may
happens
open
too.
doors, to keep those conversations going,
Right.
when you're doing things.
And you have to remember too, when you're going into a business, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a one and done conversation. You
Correct.
can put this as, just building the relationship, multiple conversations. You could ask
Mhm.
them how their business is doing, and maybe it will come up about what you do.
Mhm.
And then you could answer that question, but you don't have to go in as a sales pitch.
No.
Don't go in as a sales pitch, because I mean, we kind of all feel that that's not really what we're looking for, but just try to serve their business and what can fit for their business, and just
Yeah.
try to ask them questions about their business.
Mhm.
How did they get into their business? What were they, how long have they been doing this? What services do they offer? Those are things that you can definitely ask a business owner, and they're happy to share with you. And it leads to conversation. And this
100%.
can be done online as well. This does not just have to be in person, because
Mhm.
we know how COVID is, but we'll get into the online part in a little bit in this video.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So that's the best place to start. You already
Mhm.
have that you're visiting, or you have a relationship in the sense that, you've had conversations, or you have been able to talk to them about things. And that's usually more common in a smaller business, but, whatever the situation is, great place to start, just to
Yeah, that's
start
a
that
great
conversation.
place to start. And that's
Mhm.
where I did. I didn't go out to people I didn't know. I
Right.
started going to people that I had, a conversation with prior, and
Mhm.
then they already knew who I was, but they didn't know what I did at the time. But
Yeah.
as I started talking to them more and more and explained, they're very curious after I
Yeah,
did say what
100%.
I did.
100%. So the next place to start, either you don't frequent any businesses, or maybe you're new to a town and you haven't built anything up yet,
Mhm.
or you've gone through all the people that you know. Kind of the next step would
Mhm.
be looking advertisements or advertising type things.
Mhm.
So where is advertising taking place? So let's talk a little bit about why we want to look into that area. So first is, when I talk about advertising, look for local businesses. This may be in a newspaper, or maybe in flyers that you get. Maybe it's in bulletin boards that you see.
Right. Yeah.
Grocery stores, they have it
On the
on
carts.
the carts, bus stops. People advertise, billboards.
Mhm.
Whatever it is. But just keep your eye out for local businesses that are advertising.
Mhm.
And the reason why is that shows they have money to spend. They are spending
Their
money.
marketing.
Right, they're marketing. There's so many businesses you can look at. This makes them visible to you that, oh, they are spending and they want to get some kind of response, or return, I guess, on their investment. They're investing into themselves, and they'd be potentially willing to work with you,
Mhm.
um, eh, eh, you know, easier potentially than somebody that's not advertising. Doesn't mean that if they don't have money to spend, but at least they are
Right.
have money put aside to potentially work with you.
I was talking with a client of mine, and he wanted a booklet created for
Mhm.
himself, and he was telling me that we were talking about the branding part of the booklet, and he was telling me he was spending $500 a month on ads on shopping carts.
Mhm.
And so there you go. I mean, that's a good chunk of change right there. And if
That's
you
right.
can do, that's only 1 to 2 months that he could, you know, spend on the booklet,
Right. Or a
and
portion of that.
a portion or
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
whatever the price. But think that's a 500 a month.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
that's
that
a
is a
lot
lot.
of money towards this booklet,
Mhm.
and he could actually be saving money in the long run. So
Yeah, 100%. So that's why you want to look at that. It's just an indicator that they're already spending money. So
mhm,
that may be a great place to start.
right.
So let's just go through an example of how this might work. And this particular one was with an HVAC company, or companies, and HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And just like we talked about with realtors, having a home maintenance guide, that type of guide would make sense also
Mhm,
for people that are doing HVAC things, right? They're going to potentially, you could set up for doing tips and suggestions and maintenance and things that you should
mhm,
be doing to keep your system running smoothly. So
mhm.
it fits in line with what they're already doing with their
Sort of like a
customers.
service guide, a service
Yeah,
manual. Like
yeah,
what parts? Maybe there's part numbers that you had to have something replaced. Write down the part number.
100%.
And I'm sure the HVAC person can tell you what their
100%.
services are, and you can
Mhm.
you can dive in a little deeper and find out from them what they would be tracking.
Yeah. And it also, they could include in there, just like they do ads in other places for special deals, they could have that in the book themselves that they give the
Hmm.
people, special,
Discounts
discounts for yearly maintenance and
or
updates.
referrals or whatever they
Yeah,
want to do.
exactly. Exactly. So it allows them to build their business also
Yeah.
with that. So this particular example, we're going to go and show you some examples I got from a Valpak insert or a mailer. And if you don't know what a Valpak is, essentially, and we'll show you some examples of what are in there, but it gets mailed to you on a monthly basis. And it's all a bunch of local businesses that are having special deals that are going on in their particular industry. And there's all different types. HVAC was one. I've seen a bunch of them in there for roof repairs, window installation, all
Car,
kinds.
like brakes
Yeah,
and
automotive type
oil
things.
and
Yeah, oil changes. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. So, definitely this is just an example of this kind of stuff that you should be thinking about as as you come through, because you probably, if you live in the U.S., probably have gotten Valpaks and either don't look through it or just looking for things that you want, like maybe discounts to a restaurant or something, but you're not
Mhm.
looking at all these other things because you feel, well, I don't need HVAC service, but put on your KDP goggles
Yeah, and then it's
to
like
look at it for this different direction. So it's a different way to look at it for
we
sure.
should give these guys a warning about the KDP goggles. Once you start this process,
That's right.
I can't stop. I
That's right.
can't. I'm out there. I got the goggles on. I have to really, if I'm having
Hmm.
personally out having fun doing stuff, I have
That's
to
right.
not. But I still put my goggles on
That's
because
right.
for some reason I think it's fascinating and fun to see how we went to that winery here.
Yeah.
And remember that's what we were talking about. We were on vacation
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and then we're just talking about how this, they had a venue for wedding events and, and
Hmm.
and parties and all the things that we kept thinking about a booklet for them, and
Yeah.
we're supposed to not be working, but we
That's right.
can't stop.
It's
Once you get the goggles on,
It's really hard. There's
it's hard.
so many opportunities out there as you just start looking.
Hmm.
And initially you kind of have to, I wouldn't say force yourself, but it's more proactive to, to look for it. But then it
Yes,
becomes, like you were just saying, automatic. You're not even thinking about it, but it just pops up like, here's an
exactly.
opportunity for that.
Exactly.
So in this particular case, or mailer, I found 4 different HVAC companies in a single packet. So that's telling me, one, they are advertising, and two, it
Right.
is competitive because I got 4 different people that are vying for my, reaching out to me to have me respond to them. So there's
Hmm.
opportunities. They want to stand out for their competition, and a journal or a low content book may be a great opportunity for them to stand out from their other competition that's not doing that.
Exactly.
So how are we going to contact them? In these
Mhm.
particular case, email is the best way, I believe, to do that. So let's just go through some examples of how they look. Normally on these Valpak flyers that you see, they don't have their email address, but what they do have is their website address.
Hmm.
Almost everyone that I've seen has a website address. So here's one that has their email, I'm sorry, their website address.
Hmm.
Here's another one. Again, there's the website, website, right? They all have these websites. So these are 4 different companies doing special deals, opportunities, trying to get people, new customers to come in and work with them, or
Hmm.
even their existing customers, right? So
Hmm.
what we want to do is, now that we know what their websites are, we want to go to their websites. And the first thing we're going to look at is the services that they list. Mostly when you're thinking, you're kind of, before you're even investigating these, you're probably thinking in your mind what you could potentially do, knowing little or none of what their services are, but it just, that may make sense. But a lot of
Hmm.
times they will list what their services are
Right.
to allow you to brainstorm some potential other areas that you could potentially target, or would this fit well for this
Hmm.
particular model? That's kind of what we're just reconfirming. You have an idea what you think, and does it make sense,
Right.
for that. And then the other thing is the contact page. That's going to give you contact information, potentially names of people, which is always great to have.
Hmm.
But at a minimum, you'll have their email address in most cases that you can then reach out and contact them
Hmm.
to potentially do this. So here's one example. If I went to their website, this particular one, they had their email at the very top of the page. Not all websites do,
Mhm.
but this was great. It was already there. But if they don't, normally you would just go to the contact us. I've never been to a web page that doesn't have a contact us page.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you want to click on that, and here they had it at the very bottom, their email address. So
Mhm.
what you want to do is go to each of these websites and start collecting all of these email addresses so that you can then reach out to them. So why is collecting emails important? Well, we said at the beginning, it's better to start with somebody that you have a relationship with, but it does work well as a way to contact businesses that you don't have that relationship with
Mhm.
yet. It allows you to, connect up with them in a way that isn't face to face or going to visit, but you
Mhm.
have to do it in the right way.
Right.
It's super important. And there are some, when you think about it, emails that you probably get on a daily basis can be in the tens, hundreds, probably the businesses in the hundreds or thousands, a
Right.
lot of them. So how do you stand out essentially? How do you get,
You get
seen?
your email read. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So there's different strategies that go about that, both to get read and then that you don't appear just to be as a salesperson that you want to sell them something. So, how do you go about that? The good thing is tomorrow's workshop is all about this. We're going to talk about that strategies of how to get your emails seen and responded to. So
Mhm.
tomorrow's definitely
Yeah.
is something
If
you want
that's
to,
something you don't, if you're interested in that,
yeah,
definitely show up tomorrow for
yeah.
the emails to get read because it Rob's had great success. He's been doing a lot of that
Hmm.
promoting for ourselves, and it's worked pretty well, I have to say.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure because I was like, how are you going to get an email open? But you came up with some great strategies that you've learned over the years, and
Yep.
yeah. So come join us tomorrow for that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about, so that's kind of the first two things, businesses and then look for advertising. But
Hmm.
there's also other opportunities around existing ways of, having businesses out there. And so,
Hmm.
cross promotion is a way to also expand your business. And maybe Tammie, you want to talk about some of the things like when we talked about a realtor's uh, home maintenance guy, that leads into potentially a lot of other services, or it doesn't even have to be a home maintenance guy, but just interactions with realtors to other services that you can be,
Right. Yeah.
have potential
Well,
business with.
yeah. So cross promoting is basically a business, say a realtor, we'll use that as example since this is our slide,
Hmm.
a realtor, but then how many other businesses that realtors use to support their business?
That's right.
So when someone's going to sell their home, they have a realtor and they usually ask their realtor, do you know anybody that, maybe they need an electrician, a landscaper, someone to
Hmm.
paint the house, interior, exterior.
Hmm.
That happens quite often to prepare your house to get sold. So, a realtor is going to have a list of people that they recommend.
Hmm.
So that's where this cross promoting is going to happen. Is you have a realtor and he or she says, have a plumber, and his name is Joe, and Joe does a great job. I've had good services with him, and so you find out Joe does all the plumbing for this realtor. So now you have that connection. You're thinking, that realtor said, "Hey, Joe's great."
Hmm.
You go to Joe, you get his contact information from the realtor, then go to Joe and say, Joe, Mary's telling me that you're her plumber for her, any of her jobs, blah, blah, blah. And then, I'm doing these booklets for her and putting your name in there, and she's going to put, if you want to do a booklet and put her name in, that's how you can cross promote each other's businesses.
Yeah.
So advertise in these little booklets that we have that and people love that relationship when they start building these relationships. And this was the same with when we went to the wedding venue, which we talked about a little bit earlier in the videos on Monday.
Hmm.
Wedding events always have a preferred list, like
Hmm.
who they like to work with.
The vendor list.
Vendor listings,
Hmm.
preferred vendors list,
Hmm.
which is the same thing we're talking about here.
Yep.
The realtor has a preferred vendors list.
Hmm.
And they are so happy to cross promote with each other that think about it for yourself. How can you use the booklets? I mean, look how many people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Hmm.
8 different businesses So you don't have to go out and try to find other people for
That's right.
referrals. This is a really great way to find other businesses, and you already have that connection. Mary told me to come to you, Joe. Joe,
Mhm.
you're her plumber. We're doing this for Mary. What do you think about doing this for you? And then that way they can bundle these booklets together. House sells, put them all in the house. There you go.
Yeah. I think the other great thing about this is, um, just like we just talked about the Val Pack and special deals, if you, for example, the realtor used or created the book for the home maintenance guide, and part of it is maybe changing the filters or other things that's
Mhm.
HVAC related, you could have potentially special deals with that HVAC person that's in there, or you need service. Here's that
Mhm.
connection that we just talked about in there. But the other thing, part of that, that's kind of like what you were just saying, Tam. But the other great thing of that about that is that there's a kind of a trust automatically. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I need HVAC, and I worked with Mary, and she recommends this person. There's a good chance I'm, going to go work with, Joe and
Mhm.
do whatever it is, the
And they
plumbing or
usually
whatever.
all know each other. It
Yeah.
is fascinating that way. And
Hmm.
I done some work in the real estate world, and
Hmm.
I was a I did appraisal work.
Hmm.
And so I did know, all the plumbers, the electricians. So an
That's right.
appraiser would be another one to put on here.
Hmm.
And so, because when you have to have an appraisal done, you usually find out, hey, there's things you need to have serviced, and then you can have this booklet. Anyway, the booklet too, people don't throw these away. So think about that for the business owner when you're presenting this idea to the business owner, the plumber.
Hmm.
That plumber's card probably will get misplaced,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of stuff that just kind of gets. But if it was in a booklet and then they got a stack of these little booklets, okay, the HVAC, the plumber, the electrician, Mary, the realtor, they'll keep them because they can track everything in them.
Yeah. And part of what we talked about yesterday to make it easier to stay in the same niche. So realtors, but don't go into these other businesses. But a lot of times these particular
Trackers,
trackers or whatever you have, the
checklist.
low content books, could almost be identical for all of these people, right? And just
Hmm.
tweak it up a little bit, between, that it's an HVAC versus the realtor versus the plumber, but everything
Hmm.
else just stays the same, which again still reduces your work. But then we have, complementary businesses that are working together to expand your ability to work with other businesses. So
Yeah.
it's just another thing to think about as you're
Hmm.
thinking about these things. You don't want to get too broad. Start with the smaller, just or a single use like realtors. But then once you've kind of gone a few of those, then you can maybe expand. If you're going to expand out to other groups, this would be a perfect way to start
Hmm.
expanding out to
Right.
multiple
And you
things.
don't have to do six. You could just
Oh yeah,
you could
just pick one of them
pick
potentially.
one
Hmm.
and just expand on that. And then when you get that down, just expand on another,
Yeah,
on and on.
yeah, 100%. So here's another. Oh, did you want to say anything else about
No,
that before we?
I think
Okay,
we, yeah,
just want to make
I
sure.
don't see any questions, so we're good.
Okay, perfect. Um, Another kind of paradigm shift is fundraisers. Now, this one's probably a little different than the standard when we talk about low content journals, trackers, those type of things for working with that business and their customers. You can use the same type of strategy for fundraisers, but probably these type of low content books would be more along the line of like coloring books, word searches, crossword puzzles, just fun
Hmm.
type activities. And what it allows you to do is, and so here's a bunch of examples of schools and churches that you can do, or that do fundraisers: schools, churches, youth groups, sports, charities, service organizations. There's so many, and the
Hmm.
and the way you can kind of come across this is if you are part of this group already. So let's say it's schools, and you have a child that's in that school, and they're doing a fundraiser. The way you can come across and come to them and say, I'm willing to help out and kind of promote uh, your business or the fundraiser by creating these books. Wouldn't cost you anything, and you can do it either 100% of the proceeds go to that business
School.
or the school or whatever, whoever's doing the fundraiser, or maybe you'll do a small percentage that you take.
Hmm.
But even if you didn't take any money, you can have a lot of reciprocity associated with that, because there's a lot of, if this was successful, the fundraiser may reach out to you again and saying, either we will want to compensate you, or, to keep your name out there, because other people that are also going to be involved in the fundraiser, and a lot of them will be businesses, seeing
Mhm.
what you're doing gets your name out there, and then you can build relationships up with those people.
Mhm.
And one of the things too that comes about when you do these fundraisers is, because it is a fundraiser, let's say you were going to normally charge $10, or the list, I should say, the book, for a coloring book, just as an example, $10 on the KDP site. You could list it at, say, $20, right? And people, because it's a fundraiser, are willing to spend
Mhm.
more, and you can increase that royalty to build up that uh, royalty base to that fundraiser. And the fundraiser itself would then tell all the people that are involved, here, go to the site, buy that, and your proceeds then will come back to us as a fundraiser.
Mhm.
So it's just a different way of using the same type of model, but using it at a different way. And there's just many different options of building your name out there, and or potentially, getting a cut of that work. It just depends on the situation, and how you want to
Mhm.
approach that.
And I do put my name in the back of the book, how they
Mm,
and
mhm.
my contact information in the books that I create for businesses or for these fundraisers, and then
Yeah, that's a
that
good
way they
point.
have a contact point for you.
Mhm.
So if a business owner is looking at it and
Yeah.
want it, you can offer just have a little advertisement for yourself in there.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But it's I just want, mainly just get an idea of that this is an opportunity that you could really make some money potentially, or at least help out in the fundraiser, especially if you're involved yourself with that
Feels
particular
good.
group that's doing
Feels
it.
good to be able to do some stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm going to be working with a lady on a fundraiser for her dog passed away,
Mhm.
and she wants to start a fund for helping for surgeries at veterinarians and things that other dog people can't afford to have the surgeries done on their animals.
Mhm.
So she wants to do that. So we're going to create a booklet in the name of her dog and build that fundraiser for her.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So there's always, again, it's just different ways, just keeping in mind out there, the KDP goggles, just many different ways, expand potentially outside the businesses as you're trying to create this, if in our example yesterday, one new business a month, these are all different ideas of how to build a pipeline of different
Mhm.
types of opportunities for you.
Yep, great.
So maybe you can talk a little bit, Tam, about if you're going to reach out. We talked about websites and emails and businesses, but how online, social media, you can kind of do the similar type things.
Yeah. So as things started changing with the COVID
Hmm.
and all that, we started expanding more into the Facebook and Instagram. I was doing that for advertising for myself, but I wasn't engaging as much. And now I've been really engaging with a lot of course creators, people who are in Facebook groups. So if it's something, I would start out with something you like, or maybe it's a group that you've been in for a while that you just like to be in, or you can pick if you want to be with business coaches,
Right.
go to these groups. There's so many business coaches out there.
Hmm.
You can go to yoga coach, it's like all kinds of nutrition, all those things.
Hmm.
So you can pick your lane, whatever you want to do. And let's just stick with business coaches. Go into those Facebook groups and introduce yourself or make comments or just befriend people and, just find out what their business is about. They all like to talk about their business.
Hmm.
They, you can read their posts, start reading some of their posts. And again, when you have your KDP goggles on, you're looking at that and you're thinking, hey, they could use a workbook for their
Hmm.
course. And I would message them privately if that's something that you feel comfortable doing, and just say, listen, this is, I saw you had a workshop coming up. Have you ever thought about having a physical book for this course that you have? And then, maybe go from there. And you can do this any way you want to do it.
Hmm.
But it's just once they see you in the group and that you're not just selling, you're actually, if they have questions and you can answer the questions to help them, if it has nothing to do with the booklets, that's always a great thing. I mean,
100%.
so go in there and just be kind, serve them. And sometimes they just want your opinion on a post. Sometimes they post in Facebook or Instagram, they'll say, what do you like, this picture or this picture? That's great way to just say, I like this one,
Right.
and it doesn't have anything to do with the books, but you're participating. And when you participate, people appreciate it.
Yeah. I
So
I was just going to say, I've also seen people make, and you probably too, Tam, post, and they'll be asking for recommendations. It's like,
mhm.
where's the best way to get something printed? And they're not necessarily thinking about a book, but they're just thinking maybe at, Kinko's or Staples or something. But this allows you to open up the
Yeah, you
opportunity
can
for print on
definitely.
demand, and, just to make them aware of those type of
Mhm.
things.
Yeah, that is a golden nugget. Like when you see that, go
100%.
jump on that as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
But Instagram's great. It's a lot of photos and a
Hmm.
lot of stuff you can interact with everybody. LinkedIn's a great one because of businesses.
Yep.
There's a few others. I'm working on a few other companies that sort of cross promote with different companies. So I'm going to present that next time we're on.
Hmm.
But there's so many different groups. But there is,
Right.
like we said, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and obviously there's multiple more platforms that you may be involved in. But it's the same process. It's
Yeah.
the same thing you're looking at. You're looking for business groups, health and nutrition coaches,
Hmm.
realtors. Join the realtors group. Now you always have to look and see too if they allow you to post. Sometimes there's like a certain day that
Hmm.
you can post your links. Not every group you can post links, so make sure you're aware of their rules.
Yeah.
But you can post sometimes. They'll say, what are you working on?
Yeah.
Post a booklet that you've
Yep.
created.
Hmm.
Make a post like that. But sometimes it's just on a certain day. So find out the days and always post your stuff in there.
Yeah, especially if you can do a post and you can kind of come in it. I don't want to say innocently, in a sense of, hey, I just created this book for realtors, and which two covers would you like better, or something like that.
Mhm,
Because then you're just, people will be like, what, you have a book for a realtor? Because
mhm.
you're just asking them for, which one do you prefer? But in a way, it opens up the conversation of a book,
Right.
and it's not necessarily you're promoting anything. You're just asking for an opinion,
Yeah, you see
right?
that. Yeah, you see people do, and people do want to help and answer,
Yeah.
and it just opens up a conversation. You're just opening up a dialogue.
Right.
So that's just think of those kind of things, but you're absolutely correct. That is a great way to do it.
Mhm.
There's the men's groups, the women's groups, the business coaches, pet
Yeah.
trainers. I
Yeah.
mean, trainer guides can be super big. They have a class every 6 months. They need little
Hmm.
booklets to be. People want to have all that stuff to write down how their dog or I guess just a dog.
Yeah.
It's
Could
your
be
cat,
could be
but you don't really
cat.
train. You don't really train your cat. They don't really
Yeah.
listen to you, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, a dog trainer or horses or anything that the animals that they train,
Mhm.
you really want to keep track of how they're doing and the progress. So that's when you're thinking of pet trainers.
Yeah. Another thing, as you're just talking about that, I was thinking with pets, not necessarily the training side, but this is things that we have done before with vets. If a surgery took place or something, a lot of times you're tracking, what's going on with your pet, with
Yeah,
medications or infections, whatever, with a vet, and they know, okay, let's just say your dog got neutered or whatever. They could create a booklet that's very common for any dog, for tracking of information of, medications that they're taking and when they took them. And
especially if you get like a puppy and you have to get the shots
yeah,
and all the
hmm,
stuff, and
that's another thing.
all the things, and I always track, like our dog gets heart guard,
Hmm.
so I track it and put it in a notebook, which I should create myself my own book,
I know, it's
which I
like,
do have some, but I don't
right,
even
right,
use.
right.
Anyway, but put the vet's name on there and everything like that.
Mhm.
Then you have their contact information. So if something comes up, I got to call the vet. It's
Yep.
in front of me, got the booklet. So a vet would be a terrific idea.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. There's all kind of ideas. Just keep thinking about different ways, that things that maybe you're doing, like we were just saying with a pet. Are you writing things down on a piece of paper somewhere yourself and saying, "Wow,
Any
if I had a
medications,
booklet."
are they
Hmm.
eating,
Yeah.
how much food do they eat?
Correct.
Vets will ask you those questions like, how much are you feeding them?
Right. Right. Right.
You
Right.
can track
Hmm.
all those things. But also, so this is a great way, like we said, you may have a relationship with a vet that you take
Hmm.
your dog to. this would be great.
Yeah.
You may create the KDP booklets already. Bring other KDP booklets in that you
Mhm.
have with you. It doesn't have to be just for the business. It could just be anything. It could be if you created a coloring book for KDP, a journal, just bring it in so they can see it's a physical booklet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that you have that connection.
Or
That
if yeah, or even if maybe it's even a newer vet or whatever, you could say, I've been tracking this on paper, and I don't know if you knew, and just kind of open the conversation with,
yeah.
I do print on demand books, and this would work perfect for your customers, and just open it up and just kind of sharing what you're doing and
Mhm.
how if you had this book yourself, it would have been better,
Yeah.
and then
The
open that
booklets are a
conversation.
great, they're such a great way to advertise without advertising.
That's right.
And it's something they could sell or give. And when
Mhm.
they do that, people are just so thrilled to get something like that.
Yeah.
Or they could mail them out too. There's send them
Hmm.
out through Amazon's shipping. You don't even have to touch them. They can
Right.
just have the vet could just send them out to every new client they
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
So
100%.
good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
much to tip. So much to share with you guys.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about, you know,
Okay.
a little, you can talk about this. This is
Yeah.
where, COVID obviously has changed things, and a lot of places are now getting more locked down again. But we always
In
want
the
to keep
US.
these open when things open up again. So many great
Yeah.
opportunities, for building relationships for potential businesses you could work with.
Right. So this is a few years ago how I started. I started
Mhm.
going out to what they call meetups, and
Mhm.
you find them online. And there's all kinds of different meetups. I was going to a Wine, Women, and Wealth.
Mhm.
It was a financial group, and it had nothing to do. I was not going to be selling books. I was going for my personal self.
Right.
You got wine, you got women, and you got wealth. I
Right.
thought those three topics are right in my up my alley. So I went
Right.
to this group and I started meeting all kinds of business people. Well,
Mhm.
business women in this group,
Mhm.
business women, and they would ironically let you stand up and talk about what you do for a living.
Mhm. Amazing.
So I was like, oh boy, this is great. So
Yeah.
I would go and I would actually bring my booklets with me.
Mhm.
And they hadn't, they were just the journals and the blank lines, all this stuff. And because as soon as I talk about it, I would get a circle around me after the meeting was done.
Right.
So I bring them with me to show this is what I'm talking about. So I just get up for the 2 minutes that you get to share your business and,
Mhm.
tell them that, I create booklets for businesses and through Amazon. And boy, it was just like, I remember I used to come home and you'd be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Rob, it's like I have a circle around me every time. So I had 10, 20 women around me
Yeah.
asking me how I could do these booklets for them.
Mhm.
Anyway, so meetups are great. So meetups can be anything that you're interested in
Mhm.
as well. So I would pick something I was interested in. I was interested in wine, women, and wealth,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then go to those meetings. Now they are doing more of these virtual,
Right.
so you can look for them and still do them virtual.
Yep.
They do work, and that does still, we're all doing this now, and so it's not you just do the same thing. I personally love being there in person,
Mhm.
but it's been working fine with the meetups too.
Yeah.
So chamber of commerce events, those are great because that is your businesses, that's
Yep.
your local businesses.
Mhm.
Go online, type in your chamber,
Mhm.
where are their events, when we can go
Yep.
to them. If you want, get online. I think they're doing virtual ones right now too.
Mhm.
But that's how you could even find a list of businesses in your
Yeah.
area through chamber.
Yeah.
So chamber is a great resource.
Mhm.
Look for business events. We're
Mhm.
starting that right now. It's starting to close down again, but we were having some events being open,
Mhm.
and go to those events.
Mhm.
And trade shows are great.
Yep.
Conventions, I mean, any trade show convention, I
Yeah.
love. We have a facility by us, and
Mhm.
we had a home show. We had all these things,
Mhm.
and just walking around and had my KDP goggles on. I was like,
That's
oh
right.
my god, and
Right.
I didn't really. Sometimes I just go just to observe and kind of like get a
Yes.
different perspective of like what businesses are out there,
Mhm.
what would be a great guide, what would be a good booklet,
Yep.
and go from there.
Yeah, those are just great too. I mean, I think these work better in person when allowed, But
Mhm.
obviously, don't discount it if they're doing virtual events, just
Mhm.
see if you can attend. Still maybe opportunities for you to connect up with businesses, or at a minimum, like you were saying, Tam, that you just get a list of and see who is
Mhm.
participating. So that
Yeah.
helps,
Yeah.
seeing
Because a
different.
lot of times, like if it's home show, it's so many different businesses that
Yeah.
go to these. It's not
Hmm.
just just the home furniture or you know um, tchotchkes or whatever you want.
Right,
It's
right,
so
right.
many other. It could be sometimes is the roofer, it is
Hmm.
the HVAC, or it
Yep.
is the realtor. Chamber's a great place for realtors.
Yeah.
Realtors always belong to chamber. I've noticed.
Yep.
Um,
And multiple ones, which is great. We always say if you're staying in that one little niche of realtors, you can meet many different realtors just to introduce, just get to know them, who they are.
mhm, mhm.
That's always great.
Yep. So yeah. So obviously you have to follow the COVID rules. We're kind of like up
Right,
and
right.
down, back and forth.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
here in Colorado, and Colorado is shutting down again, and I think a lot of the
Many other places. Yeah.
places
Hmm.
are as well. But like we said, there's multiple ways to meet up with businesses, and they need your help now. They
100%.
need to stand out. They need to have
Hmm.
these things from us. So don't
Yeah.
be thinking that just because we're shutting down, business is still happening. We
Yep.
all still need businesses. So houses are selling like crazy.
Yeah.
So realtors, that's still going strong here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's high level, all the different opportunities to build this pipeline of business that are ready when you want to kind of keep getting a new business to start working with to build that stream of income. So you can get 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month. 100 a month, whatever it is that you want. So I think these are some great ideas. Rewatch if we went over too
Talk too
many, make
fast.
some notes. Yeah, exactly like that. But we wanted to let you know on Friday, as we've said throughout this week, we want to make sure that you're successful in implementing this model. And we're going to share with you ways to how you can accelerate the implementation of this model.
Mhm.
And more importantly, we're going to have some special deals and available
Mhm.
that we haven't done before that we'll talk
Yeah.
about on Friday. So
Yeah.
definitely participate. Make sure you watch that one and take advantage of some opportunities and deals we're going to provide you guys.
Right. Yeah. So like we said, we're just excited for you. There's so much opportunity, so much business.
Mhm.
We started this because we were doing it and seeing success, and people were asking
100%.
us how to do this. It wasn't our intentions to start
Right.
creating these courses and
Right, right, right.
but since you guys there's such a big market and it hasn't been tapped into
Yeah.
using the KDP strategy and adding the B2B. So if
Mhm.
you're doing KDP, this could be another little sideline to your business. If you're not doing KDP yet, you can still do this business model. We have many resources for if you just want to learn how to do KDP, maybe do cookbooks, coloring books, and all that.
Yep.
But if you don't, you can still just do the KDP for B2B side. We teach you how to create the booklets and also how to go out and build these relationships with businesses, the pricing structure, how to make your revenue, how to make your royalty, how does a business and have all that structured for you. But we'll be talking more on Friday about that.
Yeah, we want you to have you hit the ground running and getting
Yes.
businesses and work going as fast as possible for you. So
Yeah.
definitely want to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, so I don't see any questions right now, but if you guys have questions, hashtag replay, if you watch the replay, and then,
Just
wait,
wanted to share with you guys also before we sign off, because I wasn't sure just what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We kind of alluded to it earlier, but I just want to make sure that I
yes.
don't end it beforehand. But we wanted, talk about how to contact businesses remotely, and mainly we're going to focus on how to use email to both get your emails open and responded to. And
Right.
it's really a new paradigm and mindset that most of you and most businesses don't do. So this is a super powerful thing. And just like Tammie said, we love sharing the whole KDP for B2B model because it's successful and not a lot of people know about it. These strategies for email, I'm excited to share with you
Yeah.
because almost all businesses are not aware of this, of a way to really use this strategy effectively to contacting businesses and building those relationships via email. So
Right.
it'll be.
And this was, I have to say, when you first started talking to me about this, Rob, the email strategy,
Mhm.
I was like, "No, I don't know. No one opens emails." But when you started diving into this
Yeah,
deeper and going in, I was surprised
yeah.
the results you've been getting.
Yeah, I mean, as we've always said, with this model, we always believe that the face to face is one of the best ways. But COVID forced us to come look for new opportunities. And these are some things that I knew about before, but
Yeah.
really weren't investigating to implement. But now I still think, or, using these strategy, you can kind of do both things, limit it definitely now because of COVID to go in person. But there's some other strategies that sometimes it doesn't make sense to do in person. So like you wouldn't necessarily go to an HVAC person to build a relationship with, not like you go to like a coffee shop or a restaurant or,
Mhm.
there's certain businesses you just wouldn't normally go to.
Pop
So
into. Just
yeah,
don't pop into.
exactly. Yeah. So this
I don't
opens
even know
up.
where HVAC places.
Yeah, stocking businesses, what do you do? But yeah, so this allowed doors to open that wouldn't normally be a natural progression of to build a relationship. So
Yeah.
these are some great things that came about because of COVID. So I guess we can be a little appreciative,
We could be grateful
right?
for something about COVID
That's
is
right. That's
it's
right.
doom and gloom, but we are grateful that we had to take a little diversion and shift
Mhm.
the business a little bit. But that's the beauty of KDP for B2B.
Yeah.
We've been shifting, and it all works. It's
Yeah.
all the same thing. It's just a
Yeah.
little different way.
Yeah. 100%.
So, do you get everything you need?